March 2019, 3 in the morning. You are sitting in front of 5 monitors, staring at a list. 847 names, 847 addresses, 847 lives, all belonging to you. Not to me, I just use them. It's not the same thing. Somewhere in Ohio, Michael Harris, 41, warehouse manager, credit score 760. This morning, he'll receive a letter about early mortgage payoff. He'll be happy. He won't know it was you. In Texas, Sonia Ramirez, 34, a nurse. Today is her birthday. She'll wake up and see that someone transferred $200 to her savings account, anonymously. She'll think it was her husband. That was also you. You never stole money from the people whose identities you used. Not once in 8 years. Because that would be wrong. I know how that sounds. But in 3 hours, someone will ring the doorbell and everything will change. Let's go back 8 years, 2011. You are 23 years old. You live in Cleveland, Ohio, a city that was once great and still pretends it hasn't forgotten. You work at a call center. 5 days a week, you answer calls from people who are angry at their bank, their insurance, their lives. You listen. You calm them down. You say, "I understand your frustration," in the voice of a person who understands nothing. "I make $11 an hour. I understand their frustration very well." You don't have a car. You have a laptop that is 4 years old and runs so hot you place it on a book so you don't burn the table. You have an apartment you share with Dan, a guy who plays video games 12 hours a day and considers this a career plan. You are not a criminal. You're not even close to thinking about becoming one. Then one day, just a regular work call, a woman calls you. Elderly, confused. She says the bank charged her for a card she never opened, for a loan she never took, for a debt of $11,000 that didn't exist a year ago. You listen to her and at the same time look through the system. And you understand exactly how it was done. Step by step, elementary. God, this is so simple. You do nothing with this knowledge. You close the ticket. You send the woman to the fraud department manager. You go get coffee. But the thought has already been planted, and it will grow. You take the first name not for money. You take it out of curiosity, to check. Is it really that simple? Brian Collins, 38 years old, from Pennsylvania. You find his data in one of the data breaches that in 2012 are literally floating in the open. Millions of records, names, social security numbers, dates of birth. I won't do anything with this. I'll just see how far the system goes. You open a free trial account on a credit score checking service under his name. It works. You look at his credit history. Mortgage, 2 cars, clean as a whistle. This is wrong. I should close it and forget. You close the tab. You open it again. Just one more look. 2 months later, you have 6 names. You do nothing with them, just watch. How these people live, what loans they have, what debts. You know more about Brian Collins than his own brother does. Then you lose your job. The call center closes your department. Optimization. They give you 2 weeks of pay and wish you luck. Luck. Funny. Rent is due in 20 days. Dan moves in with his girlfriend. You're alone in the apartment, alone with the laptop. Alone with 6 names in a spreadsheet. You look at Brian Collins, at his credit score, 760, at his clean record, and for the first time you think, what if? You open an online credit card application. You enter his data. You wait. Approved. Limit $2,000. I'll just pay the rent. Once. Then I'll pay it back. You pay the rent. You don't pay it back. And you realize you have just crossed a line you can't uncross. Most people who do what you did get caught within a year because they're greedy, because they take too much, because they don't think about the person whose name they're using. They only think about money. You think about the people. That sounds strange, you know that, but that's exactly what saves you. Every name in your spreadsheet has its own page. You know their real lives. Income, habits, which bank they use, how often they check their accounts. You never take more than they won't notice. You never open a credit line for an amount that would trigger a review. It's like a parasite that makes sure the host stays healthy. An ugly analogy, but accurate. By 2013, you have 47 names. By 2015, 180. You stop working officially. Why? You earn more than you ever did at the call center. You move. You rent a decent apartment under a name that isn't yours. You buy a good laptop, several good laptops. You pay cash everywhere you can. You build a system. You have 3 categories of people. First, passive. You use their data only to create accounts. No credit, no cards. Just existence in the system. Second, working. Small loans, prepaid cards, rental mailboxes for deliveries. You never take more than $3,000 a year from a single name. Third, clean. You don't touch them at all. They're just a reserve, in case you need to quickly become someone else. I have rules. That's not the same as having no rules. Another rule, the most important one, you never cause direct harm. If any of the 47, then 180, then 300 people start showing signs of noticing, you stop. You leave their life quietly. Sometimes you do something strange. Sometimes you give back. Not everything, not to everyone. But when you see that Sonia Ramirez in Texas has lost her job and her credit score is dropping, you anonymously transfer $500 to her account through a chain that can't be traced. I don't know why I do this. Maybe so I don't feel like a complete monster. Maybe it works. 2018. 7 years, 847 names. This isn't just a number. This is 7 years of work, 7 years of discipline, 7 years of living inside other people's lives. You have 2 servers, one in the Netherlands, one in Singapore, an encrypted database, automated scripts that monitor the credit reports of all 847 people every 72 hours. If something changes, you know before they do. I know more about them than they know about themselves. That's frightening to me, not to them. They don't know. You live modestly for someone who could live differently. A 1-bedroom apartment, good equipment, food delivery. You almost never go out. Not because you're afraid. There's simply no reason to. Everything you need is here, in these screens. Sometimes at night, you browse through files. Not for work, just because. You read about people. Brian Collins, the very first one, got a promotion. His daughter got into college. His credit score is now 790. You congratulate him in your mind. Hi, Brian. You don't know me. I'm glad things are going well for you. It's a strange life. You're alone. Truly alone. Not the kind of alone where you just don't have friends, but the kind where you can't tell anyone who you really are, where your only relationships are with 847 people who have no idea you exist. I probably should have become a psychologist. I'm clearly too interested in other people's lives. And then, on one ordinary Tuesday in February, the system sends you an alert. One of the 847 people is doing something strange. The name in the alert, Daniel Ford. 44 years old, Liverpool, Kentucky. You open his file. Daniel Ford, passive category. You used his data for just one account 3 years ago. No loans, no cards. Just a name in one old registry. The alert says someone requested his credit report. Not a bank, not an insurance company, a federal agency. Calm down. This could be anything. A routine check. He might have applied for a government job. Could be anything. You close the alert. You open it again. You look at the date of the request. You look at the agency. The FBI doesn't check the credit score of someone applying for a government job. A different agency does that. You start digging. Daniel Ford, the real Daniel Ford, works as an accountant at a small firm in Kentucky. Married, 2 kids. Never had any dealings with federal agencies in his life. Then why is the FBI checking his credit score? You dig deeper, and you find it. The real Daniel Ford is dead. 4 years ago, heart attack. 47 years old. obituary in a local newspaper. A photograph. Wait. If he died 4 years ago, then who has been living under his name for the last 3 years? You look at the data you collected on Daniel Ford. Everything checks out. All the documents look real. The credit score is real. The address is real. The job is real. But it's not the same person. Someone else has already been living under this name before you. And that someone works for the FBI. Oh no. For the next 48 hours, you don't sleep. You check every point of contact between you and Daniel Ford. 3 years ago, you used his name to register one account on a file storage platform. 1. You put a few encrypted archives there and forgot about it. You log into the account. The files are there, but there's something else. In the inbox, one message. No signature, no subject line. Date, 3 weeks ago. We know about 847. Don't move. Wait. 3 weeks. They've known for 3 weeks and did nothing. Why? You close the laptop. You stand up. You sit down. You stand up again. Run? Where? You have 23 ready identities for emergencies. You can disappear in 6 hours. New name, new city, start over. But they already know about 847. If they know about 847, they know everything, including the backup identities. 3 in the morning, you sit in the dark, and then the doorbell rings. You open it. On the doorstep, a man, around 50, in civilian clothes. No badge, no weapon you could see. He looks at you calmly, like a man who isn't in a hurry. "My name is Daniel Ford," he says. "The real one. This is it. It's over." But he doesn't reach for handcuffs. "May I come in? We need to talk." His real name is not Daniel Ford, of course. He's a special agent. For 8 years he has worked financial crimes. 3 years ago he stumbled across you, by accident, through another case. He began to watch, and here's what matters. He decided not to touch you. Why? Because you were doing something I had never seen in 20 years on the job, he says. You were giving it back. He spreads printouts in front of you, anonymous transfers. Sonia Ramirez, Brian Collins, 17 other people you returned money to over 3 years, sometimes more than you had taken. I didn't think anyone would notice. I noticed, the agent says, and I watched. Because you didn't fit into any category I know. But 3 weeks ago my colleagues found you. Independently, they don't have what I've seen. To them you are simply 847 victims and 8 years of crime. Why is he telling me this? You have, he stands up, about 6 hours. Do what you think is right. He leaves. The door closes. You sit alone. 847 names on the screen. 8 years. 6 hours. What kind of person am I? I don't know. I really don't know. You look at the list for a long time. Then you open a new file and you begin to write down names. All 847 with amounts, with dates, with details. A full confession. You send it to the FBI anonymously, through a chain they will find, deliberately not complicated enough. You leave them a thread. Then you pick up the phone. You transfer to the account of each of the 847 people exactly what you took, to the cent. The money you saved over 8 years. By sunrise, the account is zeroed out. You get up, you get dressed, and you go to turn yourself in. I stole 847 lives. Not for a single day, not for a single minute were they mine. But this last decision is definitely mine. According to FBI data, more than 1.5 million cases of identity theft are registered in the United States every year. Most victims find out by accident, checking their credit score or receiving a letter from a bank. The person who could have become the largest identity thief in history surrendered voluntarily. His real name has never been revealed.